When you wake up in the morning, the very first thought you choose to entertain sets the tone for the entire day. If the first thing that runs through your mind is, "This is going to be another difficult day," you've already placed yourself in a prison before stepping out of bed. The walls of that prison are not built from bricks or steel, they're built from thoughts, from beliefs, from the energy you decide to carry with you. On the other hand, when you wake up and say, "Today I will create, today I will grow, today I will see opportunities instead of problems," the world instantly feels lighter, more open, more alive. Nothing outside has changed. The same people, the same challenges, the same routines remain, but your internal lens has shifted, and with that shift you've created a completely different reality. Think about it, the human mind is capable of replaying memories from years ago, feelings that no longer exist in the present moment, and yet they can still hurt you as if they're happening now. Why? Because your mind doesn't distinguish much between what's vividly imagined and what's real. That means the suffering you feel isn't always from what's happening, it's from the story your mind tells about what's happening. In the same way, the joy, the peace, the strength you crave are not locked somewhere outside waiting for you to find them. They already exist within you, waiting for your thoughts to align with them. This is why some people walk through hardship with dignity and calm while others crumble under pressure from far smaller difficulties. It isn't the situation itself that defines them, it's the meaning they assign to it. One person loses a job and thinks, "My life is ruined, I have no future." Another person loses the same job and thinks, "This is my chance to reinvent myself, to finally step into something better." The event is the same, but the inner world they choose creates two completely different experiences. That's the power you carry every single day. Your mind is like soil. Whatever you plant, it grows. If you plant seeds of doubt, insecurity and fear, don't be surprised when a forest of anxiety surrounds you. But if you plant seeds of courage, gratitude and vision, you will harvest strength, confidence and peace. The soil doesn't decide for you, it simply reflects what you choose to sow. This is why it's so important to become aware of what you are allowing into your mind. The books you read, the conversations you keep, the content you consume, all of these are seeds. They either nourish you or poison you. The tragedy is that most people allow their minds to run wild, like an untended garden. And an untended garden doesn't remain empty, weeds grow automatically. Fear, doubt and negativity sprout without permission. But when you take charge, when you begin each day with intentional thoughts, when you catch yourself falling into patterns of limitation and redirect your focus, you become the gardener of your own destiny. And suddenly, instead of being trapped in a mental hell of your own making, you begin to live in a heaven of clarity, purpose and strength. So the question is never, is life heaven or hell? The question is, what am I creating with my thoughts right now? Because the truth is, heaven and hell are not places you go to after death. They are states you create in your mind while you're alive. Choose wisely, because the quality of your life depends on it. The greatest mistake people make is believing that thoughts are just harmless little flashes passing through the mind. They say it's just a thought, it doesn't matter. But every thought is energy, every thought has weight, every thought leaves an imprint, and over time those imprints become habits, those habits become character, and that character becomes destiny. The life you are living right now is nothing more than the accumulated reflection of the thoughts you have entertained, fed and believed in the past. That's how powerful they are. Now awareness is the key, because most people are not even conscious of the thoughts running through their minds. They wake up, grab their phone, scroll endlessly, and without realizing it, they've already absorbed hundreds of messages, images and words that shape their mental state for the entire day. They go to work or school carrying these unexamined thoughts like invisible luggage, heavy and exhausting, and then they wonder why they feel anxious, distracted or restless. The truth is, their mind is not weak, it's simply undisciplined. Think of your thoughts as drops of water. A single drop doesn't seem like much, but if you let those drops flow in one direction, consistently, over time they carve rivers, they shape landscapes, they even cut through stone. That's the force your thoughts carry. If they're left unchecked, they can carve destructive patterns in your life, but if they're guided with awareness, they can carve a path of strength, clarity and resilience. This is where inner awareness comes in. Inner awareness is the ability to pause, to watch your own mind, and to recognize what thoughts are guiding your actions. It's the moment when you catch yourself saying, "I'm not good enough," and instead of believing it, you question it, you challenge it, you replace it with, "I am learning, I am growing, I am capable." And with that simple shift, you redirect the flow of water in your mind. Awareness is like stepping into the driver's seat, instead of being dragged around by your own mental storms. Think about how many times your mind has taken you somewhere you didn't want to go. You sit down in silence, and suddenly your mind pulls up an old memory, a painful argument, a regret. Before you know it, your body feels oitats. Every human being carries within themselves two worlds. One is bright, filled with peace, clarity and possibility. The other is dark, heavy and full of fear, anger and confusion. These two worlds exist not somewhere far away, but right inside your mind. And the truth is, every single day, you are choosing which of these worlds to live in. You are choosing heaven, or you are choosing hell. Most people think hell is punishment waiting after life, and heaven is a reward given later. But stop and look closely at your own experience. Isn't it true that when you're trapped in overthinking, when anxiety takes over, when anger burns inside you, life already feels like hell? Your body is here, but your mind is restless, your heart is heavy, and every step feels harder than it should. Nothing outside needs to be burning because the fire is inside you, and yet the opposite is just as true. There are moments when you feel completely present, when gratitude fills you, when you're deeply connected to life. Maybe it's a morning sunrise, maybe it's laughter with a friend, maybe it's simply the awareness of being alive. In those moments, the world feels lighter, time slows down, and you feel at peace. That is heaven. And notice, the sunrise didn't create it, the laughter didn't create it, the awareness you allowed created it. What's important to understand is that heaven and hell are not destinations you stumble into by accident, they are states you create with your thoughts. The person who constantly feeds anger, comparison, jealousy and fear is building their own mental prison. And no matter how much success they achieve, no matter how much money they make, that prison follows them everywhere. But the person who trains the mind to return to gratitude, to focus on possibilities instead of limitations, to see lessons instead of failures, that person carries heaven within, even in the middle of challenges. You see, nothing is more powerful than perspective. A man loses his home and says, "I've lost everything, my life is over." Another man loses his home and says, "I still have my family, I still have my health, I still have the chance to rebuild." The same event, two different minds, one creates hell, the other creates heaven. The difference isn't in what happened, but in how the mind chose to interpret it. So if you really want to free yourself, you need to stop waiting for the world outside to become perfect. It never will. Life will always bring uncertainty, loss and difficulty. But life will also bring joy, opportunity and growth. Both will always be there. Your freedom lies in realizing you can choose which side of that truth you focus on. You can choose which seeds you water. You can choose whether you live in the light or stay in the shadows. The mind is both the lock and the key. When you understand this, you stop begging the world to give you peace and start creating it within yourself. You stop waiting for circumstances to change and instead change the way you meet circumstances. And in that shift you discover something powerful. Heaven and hell were never outside. They were always in your mind, and the choice has always been yours. So choose wisely, because the place you live in every single day is the one you create inside yourself. One of the hardest truths to face is that so many people live their entire lives caught inside loops they don't even see. They wake up every morning with the same thoughts as yesterday. Those thoughts create the same feelings. Those feelings lead to the same actions, and those actions deliver the same results. Then they wonder why life never changes, why happiness feels distant, why peace seems impossible. The reason is simple: they're living inside a cycle, and they've forgotten they have the power to step out of it. Negative cycles don't just appear out of nowhere. They usually begin with a single unchecked thought, a doubt, a fear, a belief that says I'm not enough, or life is against me. That thought is repeated so often it becomes normal, and because it feels normal, people stop questioning it. Soon that belief shapes behavior. The person avoids challenges, they stop trying new things, they surround themselves with more negativity, and over time the cycle tightens like a rope around their life. But here's the truth: a cycle only continues if you keep feeding it. The moment you become aware of it, the moment you choose differently, you break the pattern. It doesn't matter how long you've been living in it, 10 months, 10 years, or your entire life, the cycle is not stronger than your awareness. The instant you recognize it, you put a crack in the loop, and with consistent action, that crack becomes the doorway to freedom. Think about how many people live in cycles of anger. Something small happens, they explode, they regret it later, and yet the next time they react in the same way. Or cycles of fear, where opportunities arrive but they always say no, always play safe, always back away. Or cycles of doubt, where every dream they have is killed in the mind before it even has the chance to take shape. These are prisons built without walls, and yet most people don't realize they are the ones holding the key. Breaking free doesn't mean the mind will suddenly stop offering you negative thoughts. It means you stop automatically believing them. It means you step back, take a breath, and choose a new response. The moment anger rises, instead of exploding, you pause. The moment fear whispers, you can't, you step forward anyway. The moment doubt says, you're not ready, you choose to act as if you are. Every time you do this, the cycle weakens. Every time you do this, the rope around your life loosens. It's important to remember, freedom doesn't happen in one giant leap. It happens in small decisions repeated every day. The decision to focus on gratitude instead of complaint. The decision to try again after failing. The decision to breathe instead of reacting. These choices may feel small in the moment, but they are seeds, and when planted consistently, they grow into a completely different life. And the beautiful thing is, once you break free from one cycle, you begin to see the others. You start to notice where you've been holding yourself back, where you've been repeating patterns without question, and the more cycles you break, the lighter life becomes. Not because the world outside has changed, but because you've stopped chaining yourself inside the same old patterns. You are not meant to repeat yesterday forever. You are meant to grow, to rise, to expand beyond the limits of your past. And the moment you choose to step out of the cycle, you begin to live as you were always meant to, free. Discipline is often misunderstood. People hear the word and immediately think of restriction, of something heavy, something that takes away freedom. But in truth, discipline is not the enemy of freedom, it's the foundation of it. Without discipline, you are a prisoner of your impulses, of your moods, of whatever thought or emotion happens to show up that day. But with discipline, you are no longer controlled by what is fleeting, you are guided by what is lasting. Think about it. The body doesn't always want to move, yet when you discipline yourself to train, your strength grows. The mind doesn't always want to focus, yet when you discipline yourself to sit, breathe and return to the present, clarity emerges. Discipline is not punishment, it is alignment. It's aligning your daily actions with the life you actually want to live, and every time you practice it, you take back power from the chaos of the mind. But discipline alone is not enough. Without balance, discipline can become rigid, harsh, even destructive. Too much pushing, too much striving, too much demanding from yourself without pause, and soon discipline turns into pressure. That's why balance is essential. Balance is knowing when to act and when to rest, when to push forward and when to let go, when to be firm and when to be gentle. It's not about being perfect every day, it's about knowing how to return to the center when life pulls you off track. Life itself is built on this rhythm. The sun rises and the sun sets. The tide comes in and the tide goes out. The body inhales and the body exhales. Everything in nature is disciplined and balanced at the same time. When you understand this, you stop fighting yourself. You stop expecting to always feel motivated, to always feel strong, to always feel happy. Instead, you accept that strength and softness, effort and rest, joy and sorrow, all belong to the flow of life. Balance is not about removing struggle, it's about carrying struggle in harmony with peace. Some people live without discipline, floating wherever the wind takes them, but they never build the strength to handle life when storms arrive. Others live with harsh discipline, pushing themselves without pause, but they burn out, lose joy and disconnect from life's beauty. The true path is the middle way, where discipline and balance walk together, where you train your body and mind, but you also allow space to breathe, where you hold yourself accountable, but you also forgive yourself when you fall, where you push forward with determination, but you also remember to stop and appreciate how far you've already come. Discipline builds structure. Balance keeps that structure alive. Discipline is the roots of the tree. Balance is the branches that reach out to the sky. One without the other cannot last, but together they create a foundation strong enough to withstand storms and flexible enough to sway with the wind. When you live with this harmony, you stop being at war with yourself. You stop swinging between extremes of indulgence and punishment. Instead, you find a rhythm that gives you both strength and peace, progress and presence, and that rhythm becomes your path through life. So do not fear discipline, and do not neglect balance. Walk with both, and you will walk with freedom. Every person here has faced challenges, some big, some small, but every one of us knows what it feels like to be pushed to the edge, to feel like life is pressing down with more weight than we think we can carry. In those moments, it's easy to believe that challenges come only to break us, to block us, to punish us. But that belief is not the truth. The truth is that challenges are not here to crush you, they are here to build you. They are not barriers, they are gateways, and whether they destroy you or strengthen you, depends on how you choose to meet them. When you look back at your life, think about the times you grew the most. Was it when everything was easy, when every plan worked perfectly, when nothing stood in your way? Or was it when life tested you, when you failed, when you were rejected, when you had to stand back up after being knocked down? Strength is not built in comfort, it is forged in difficulty. Just as fire refines metal, pressure strengthens the mind and spirit. But here's the secret: challenges don't automatically make you stronger. They can also make you bitter, resentful, hopeless, if you allow them to. Two people can face the same storm. One emerges broken, the other emerges unshakable. The difference isn't the storm, the difference is how they use it. When you stop asking why is this happening to me, and instead ask how can this grow me, that's the moment you begin to transform pain into power. Think about the body. If you never push it, if you never lift something heavy, the muscles never grow. But when you place resistance on them, when you challenge them, the fibers tear, and in the repair they come back stronger. The mind works the same way. Every obstacle, every setback, every failure is resistance for your mental muscles. And yes, it hurts. Yes, it tests you. But it is shaping you into someone who can handle more, carry more, and rise higher than before. The danger is when people run from challenges, when they spend their entire life trying to avoid struggle. What happens then is they remain weak, fragile, unable to stand when life inevitably tests them. The goal is not to seek an easy life. The goal is to build a strong spirit, and the only way to build a strong spirit is to face what is difficult and turn it into your teacher. When you reframe challenges, everything changes. That rejection you thought was the end, it becomes redirection to something better.
That failure you thought defined you, it becomes feedback guiding you to grow. That loss you thought would break you, it becomes the reason you learn gratitude, the reason you learn to love deeper, the reason you learn resilience. Life is always teaching, but only the aware student learns. And here is the beauty: once you train yourself to see challenges this way, fear begins to fade. You stop asking life for less struggle, and start asking yourself for more strength. You stop avoiding obstacles, and start walking into them knowing they are shaping you. And with every test, with every setback, with every difficulty you overcome, you discover that what once felt impossible is now your foundation.